Buongiorno everybody, welcome to my kitchen. We're gonna make some scones, and what I do is I make them in rounds and then I score them and then I freeze them. You take your nice, bench scraper or a good knife, you pull them out of the freezer, you just cut them up, throw them in a pan, throw them in the oven, and it's really no work. It's just literally throwing them in the oven. They bake nice and fresh. You throw them on the kitchen counter or on the table, and everybody's out of your way. They've got something to eat, and it goes really good with coffee. And I like doing a couple different flavors. So we're gonna make these. They're very, very easy. So we're gonna start with flour. So my base recipe is 2.5 cups of flour. I'm doubling this because basically I'm gonna make either 4 rounds of big scones, or I'm gonna cut them in half and I make some mini scones, which, go further. So, and sometimes I make some of each because everybody wants to try all the different flavors, So we're gonna start with 5 cups of flour. And I do recommend, if you're gonna have, actually, you know what? Even if you're not having a lot of company, double this up because these can stay in the freezer and you'll have them for Thanksgiving morning, Christmas morning, or any other morning you feel like having a scone. But it really, really does help. What did I just put in there? 3, 4, let me stop for a second. And 5. Okay, let's see how much mess I can make with this. 5 cups of flour. So I do strongly recommend anytime you're making something like this, especially something like this that's freezable. And I have not frozen these cooked. I'm sure they're freezable cooked. I always make my dough and then I freeze it and then I let them bake in the oven. Nice and fresh. Even from frozen, because they defrost very quickly anyway, it comes out great. So we are gonna put in just 3/4 cup, or 2/3, I'm sorry, 2/3 cup. That's really not very much, just over half cup. We don't want these very sweet, okay? Sweet just fills you up more. We are going to just give that flour and sugar a stir, because I like doing that. Okay. So you're going to use, basically use a teaspoon per cup of flour of baking powder. So we are doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're just gonna put in a 1/2 teaspoon of, so 1/2 teaspoon per recipe, so 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Hope I didn't, okay. Make sure I didn't do that backwards. That would be horrible because baking soda doesn't have a good flavor if you overdo it. Okay, and since I'm using unsalted butter, I am gonna put a 1/2 teaspoon of salt in here. Okay. Now, this calls for 3/4 cup of butter, which is, and so double this 3 sticks of butter or 1.5 cups. And that comes out to 113 grams. Wait, let me just make sure I'm right. Yes, 113 grams times 3, so that's 339 grams of butter. So what I like to do, I could put, this is a big, strong mixer. I could put this all, look at how bright yellow this organic butter is. It's just so nice. Organic, sweet cream, unsalted butter. So pretty. Okay, so I like to just kind of help it along a little by, I usually quarter it, and then throw it all in here, and see, got a way to pick it up, and that's 1. And you don't want it too soft. I mean, you can let it soften a little bit, but it's really more pastry-like if your butter is cold. Okay. If you're only going to make one kind of scone, then you can go ahead and mix everything in here. For example, I make cinnamon raisin, I make blueberry, I make cranberry orange. So you can do anything. You can do one kind if you want to do batches, but I do it a little different, and I'll show you how I do it so that I have less work to do. Okay, I'm gonna let that go for a second. The last ingredient is milk, but we sour the milk a little with a little bit of vinegar. So my original recipe called for 1.5 cups, but I think they come out too wet. So I usually start with 1 cup per recipe. So this is going to end up with 2 cups. So this is 1 cup of milk. And what did I do with my vinegar? Oh, there it is. Right behind me. So you're going to put in about a teaspoon of vinegar. We're going to do that twice, so I'm going to stir it up, and it kind of thickens it a little bit. It's the equivalent of, you know, what it would be if it was buttermilk, but I just do it this way because I never have buttermilk. So just pour this in. Just stream it in slowly. Let it mix in, soft, and getting the butter mixed up. And I'm going to go ahead and do my other cup. Okay, hold on. Okay, now, it's a little bit wet, and that's fine. Oh, let's see here. We're going to take this all out of here. I'm going to, you know, wait a minute. Forgot something. Stay there. This is what I meant to do. Yes, that's much better. Because this does need a little bit of drying out. Now, if you're using like a scone pan or something, you can do it just as it is and throw it in there. And the less dry, I don't want to say wet because it's not wet, but the stickier your dough is, the lighter they come out. But even if you make it with enough flour in it that it's not sticking to your fingers, they still come out good. Okay, we're going to take this baby, extend it up right there. And you can do this with gluten-free, let's see here, gluten-free flour as well. So, for those of you who need to be gluten-free, you can do that too. So I'm just going to gently mix this together. So it's a nice uniform. Get those last little chunks of, there's still chunks of butter in here, kind of squeezing them. Not too much. Now if you're dairy free, I guess you're gonna have to substitute some other kind of milk. And I don't know if I would probably just use the plain milk and not do the vinegar because I don't know if it'll do the same thing. But you know what, actually wouldn't hurt because it does still make it do cool stuff. Get this nice, beautiful, round ball of dough. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in 4. And this could be 4, I'm just going to show you. This could be 4 discs that would be a nice, these would be big scones. So you're going to put them out like this. If they were round, can you see there? Let me move these over. Okay, and then you could score these into like 6s, then you're ready to go. Or you could cut these in half and cut them into smaller rounds. So say, for example, you can make smaller circles. And then you could still do 6 or 8, and you have mini ones, mini scones that are, you know, if you can see that scored, mini scones. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to do the mini scones because that's what I want to do. So I'm going to show you how I do this. All right. So those are just plain. You could leave some plain ones, but what I like to do is spread out the dough. And then, okay, so we're going to make some cinnamon. So we're going to spread some cinnamon with some golden raisins. Cinnamon raisins really my favorite. I do love the blueberry and I love the cranberry orange. I love all of them. So you put them in, you just kind of put the raisins You can do it on the whole thing. You can do it on half because then we're going to flip it over. Oops, forgot something. Oh, no, it's right behind me. Haha. Okay. We are going to use a little bit of organic sugar in there as well with the cinnamon. Oh, look at that. Cinnamon, sugar, and raisins. So like I said, normally if you're only doing one flavor, then you would, you know, just mix it in. You can mix all this stuff into the dough and then just sprinkle the topping off. You can do regular brown raisins. You can, I love the golden raisins though. I'm gonna put a little bit of both in here. Okay. Fold it over again. And now that I've got kind of two layers, so my scones kind of come out kind of layered. Now I'm just going to roll it, make it back into a nice circle. I'm gonna go ahead and score it. You don't have to, you can just cut them when you come, you know, when you, whoops, I did that one kind of big. There we go. You can put a little more cinnamon on top if you want. You can put a smidgen of sugar on top if you want, or not. And then you take this with your plastic wrap and just fold it, wrap it up a couple of times, make sure it's covered all the way. And you put them in the freezer nice and flat like this. And then on the morning you need them, you're ready to go. Now, let's do another one. So this one here, the one I've shaped already, we're gonna spread it out. We're gonna do some cranberry orange. So, oops, excuse me. I need the zester. Make sure that you have organic oranges. So this is an organic, actually this is a blood orange, so there's gonna be a little bit of pink in there. If you're making just a batch of cranberry orange, then go ahead and squeeze an orange, put the a little bit of the orange juice in. You could use that in place of the vinegar. You could just put it in with your milk. Gives it that wonderful curdle that you need. And then you add that into, you can make your dough a little bit more flavored. Now, in the meantime, you don't need to do that. You can just put the orange zest in here. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut your cranberries in half. So you don't have to do a million of them. And this is something that, you know, you have one of the kids sitting here with you. You got your, I actually had these frozen because as soon as I get cranberries, I always freeze them. So that way I never lose any. So these just took out a little bit ago. They were just perfect for slicing. You can do them fresh or frozen. Okay, so I've got these cranberries here. Throw a couple more on. Oops, the knife was upside down. It didn't cut. Whoop. Okay. You can just do cranberry orange like this. You know, a little bit of zest. You could put cinnamon in this if you want. You could also put a little bit of sugar in here if you want. You know, however you want to do it. You can fold them over, squeeze it down, do a little bit more. And then you've got cranberry orange. And then, last but not least, I will show you my third favorite flavor. They're not in that order. It depends on what kind of mood I'm in. But I will tell you this. I am a kind of a cinnamonaholic. Cinnamonaholic, is that a word? Let's throw two more on. I do love the cranberries. I do love the cinnamon. I love raisins. I love cinnamon raisin anything. Okay, and we'll throw, what the heck, just it gives the little teeny bit of sugar, and especially because it's a holiday. Now you can make these without the sugar on top completely. Now, I've got 2 layers inside of the cranberry orange. And then the top, to make it nice, you could put a little more zest on the tippy top. So that has some of the color, little specks of color and flavor. Oops, I got it all over the place here. There we go. And then just, this gives it a little bit of crisp on top. There we go. And then again, we're gonna score it. It's ready to go. And then we're gonna wrap that one in plastic too. So now I'm gonna show you the third flavor that I like to do. What's everybody's favorite? Blueberry. So I'm gonna take one of these big ones, which again, those are halves. And the mini scones are really nice. And then you've got these 3 different kind of scones. You get a pretty platter, you spread them out. You can put them in 3 sections. You can just toss them all around and do it however you like, whatever you want to do. But it looks pretty. Okay, so now we're gonna throw in a layer of blueberries. And of course they make your fingers all purple because these are frozen blueberries, but I buy the big, fat, organic blueberries. Now, the cinnamon does go good with the blueberries, and I like a little something extra because the other ones are all like 2. They're like cinnamon raisin, they're cranberry orange. The blueberry goes good with some orange zest. It goes good with the cinnamon. Of course, a little bit of this, but you know me, I don't do too much sugar. And then we're gonna start over, throw in some more blueberries. And these turn a little purple, especially when they're frozen. So you're gonna have purple streaks in your dough, which is totally fine. Don't sit here and think they gotta be all white, you know. All right, we put cinnamon in that one. We'll put a little more cinnamon, because not too much. Now you could also, if you wanted, you could flavor the dough with some vanilla extract or some almond extracts. Almond blueberry is really nice. We'll throw just a little teeny sprinkling of sugar in. And then the dough's getting a little sticky here. And then we're going to just fold it over. And it doesn't matter now, like the blueberries, especially because they're bigger, and same times with the cranberries, they might stick out. You're gonna make this into a nice ball. If it's sticking out, you know, kind of poke it in. Make it a nice ball, flatten it into a disc. And if you see pieces of blueberry sticking out like that, it's okay, because that just is fine. So I'll get a little bit of flour here. I'm not sticking to my fingers. Again, score it, let's see, in 6, unless you want to do teeny tiny ones. These things poof up really nicely. And now we've got blueberry, and make sure once you put them in the plastic that you don't ruin your circle. You want them to be nice and round. Okay, and now we've got our nice sets of, so now I've made 3 different kinds: cranberry, orange, cinnamon, raisin, and blueberry. So, and of course you can, love nibbling on the blueberries. So, take this recipe, 2½ cups of flour, 2½ teaspoons of baking powder, ½ teaspoon baking soda, 2/3 cup of sugar. You can also do just a half, 3/4 cup butter, and then 1 cup of milk with a little bit of vinegar or buttermilk if you have it. And then you're going to use whatever mixtures, condiments, flavors, additions that you want. Okay, now that was the single recipe, so that would make, let's see here, that would make 4 of these small ones, okay, because there's the other half of the 4th one. But I highly recommend you double that recipe, and then you'll have plenty of them. And you know, you can make 4 of these, so let's see, 6 times 3, 6 times 4, you'd end up with 24 mini scones, or you could end up with 24, let's see, what do we have? 6 and 6 is 12, and yeah, you would have 24 big ones if you do it regular size, or you would have 48 minis. What I recommend is do the minis, maybe make 1 round or 2 rounds of the big ones. You know, do it however you like, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. It's worth having these in your freezer. It's worth having these. You're gonna have somebody's coming over real quick, throw 1 round in the oven. By the time they get here, 15 minutes later, there's scones fresh out of the oven with a cup of coffee for you and your neighbor. So it's a really nice thing to have, nice thing to do. So, buon appetito for breakfast. Enjoy making these. I highly recommend make these today or tomorrow. Throw them in the freezer. You're set for next week. You can do this. They're so easy. And I'm sure some of my English friends are watching, and I was told that they call them scones. Scones? Scones. Scones? I don't know how to, I don't have an English accent, but they call them scones. I think, in some parts of England. Now, I mentioned it to another English friend. They said, no, we call them scones. Or scones. 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 I don't know. We're going to call them sconi. We just turned them into Italian. Sconi. So anyway, enjoy. I hope you love these. I do these all the time. I have done them here on the show before. Okay, ciao. I'll talk to you soon. I think I'm going to throw some of these in the oven for today. Afternoon coffee, what do you think? Or afternoon tea with a scone. Scone. Scone? Scony. Ciao, ciao. Turn this off with my dirty fingers. Buona giornata, everybody.